Yeah, I know. Maybe he's really busy, I'm not sure. Okay. Okay, yeah, I think I'll be here, so one of these days I'm gonna catch up with you. It's 6 o'clock. Why don't we go ahead and get started? And Commissioner DeJesus will lead us in the flag salute. Okay, if we could have roll call, please.
Good afternoon. Chairman Grimm,
Here.
Commissioner Looney, Commissioner DeJesus,
Here.
Commissioner Hastings,
Here.
Commissioner McCarthy, absent, Commissioner Savage, absent, Commissioner Martin,
Here.
Student Commissioner Lieberman, Student Commissioner Bezo. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is approval of the minutes from our last meeting. Are there any changes to those minutes? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Sorry.
And I'll second that.
Sorry, Lisa. Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of the minutes. Please cast your votes, please.
And please make sure to lock in your votes.
Mine's not showing.
I can't pull up my voter screen.
Yeah, mine won't pull up. Mine isn't here either.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, very good. Cast your votes, please.
Commissioner DeJesus and Commissioner Hastings, make sure to lock your votes in Charmin Green. You did?
You're locked.
Very good. The motion approved unanimously. Okay, the next item on the agenda is oral communication. And if anyone in attendance tonight has any matters that they would like to present to the Planning Commission that are not on the regular agenda, you have 3 minutes and you can come forward. Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on. Thank you. Okay, tonight there are no public hearing items. We have an early design review, which is EDR1 P24 215 at 600 East Vista Apartments. And do we have a staff report or an introduction tonight?
Yes.
Chairman Green?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Daisy. Yes, I would like to introduce Daisy Dip. Commissioners, we have the pleasure to have Daisy Dip, our junior planner, who just started with the city in July or late June. So we're very happy to have her, and this is her first presentation before the Planning Commission tonight. So Daisy, take it on. Take it on.
Welcome, Daisy.
Thank you. Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Daisy Deep, Junior Planner. The item before you tonight is an early design review, planning case P24-0215 for a multifamily residential project. The purpose of the EDR is to provide an opportunity for the Planning Commission to review the initial proposal and provide preliminary advisory comments to the project applicant. The proposal has not been routed or fully reviewed by all city staff. It is reviewed only in terms of basic zoning compliance. Applicant will answer specific questions about the project design and the thought process behind the initial proposal. No formal vote or action is required or necessary for an EDR item. The project scope is a preliminary proposal to develop a multifamily residential project consisting of 50 apartment units, inclusive of 5 affordable units on a 1.2-acre site located at 600 to 612 East Vista Way at the northeast corner of East Vista Way and Civic Center Drive. The site is currently developed with a restaurant, Chin Setron, a commercial building, and a parking lot. Proposed site improvements include a 4-story building with associated covered and uncovered parking, 2 exit drives from Hillside Terrace and 1 exit drive from East Vista Way, perimeter landscaping, amenity deck, and a residence park. This is a map of the current project's location. The site is currently zoned Downtown Vista Specific Plan, Civic Center, mixed-use, 40 dwelling unit per acre. The site is surrounded by commercial zone C1 and town site specific plan to the north, Civic Center and downtown specific plan to the east, downtown specific plan to the south, and town site specific plan to the west. This is an aerial view of the project site looking northeast. And here is the photo of the site looking from East Vista Way, and a photo of the site looking from Hillside Terrace. Surrounding land use to the north of the project site is a tire shop, a commercial building, a variety of single-family and multifamily residential units. To the west is a church across from Hillside Terrace, auto sales and commercial buildings along Vista Village Drive, and a variety of single-family and multifamily residential units. To the east of the site is the Vista Fire Department and an apartment complex. To the south of the project site is Wildwood Park offices, Rancho Buena Vista Adobe Historic Home, and an apartment complex. The projects propose a multifamily residential building, including 3 studio, 42 1-bedroom, 3 2-bedroom, and 2 3-bedroom floor plans from 600 square foot to 1,159 square foot, total of 50 units. The project proposed 41.6 dwelling unit per acre. Zoning allows 40 dwelling unit per acre. The proposed height of the building is 4 stories and 60 foot. 72 parking spaces are provided. 53 parking spaces are required per density bonus state law. 10,000 square feet of open space is required, 200 square feet per unit, and 11,653 square feet is provided. 6,886 square foot is provided for common open space, and 4,767 square feet is provided. The applicant intends to submit the project with state density bonus law 65915. And this is the proposed site plan for the project. There are on-site parking spaces provided in the ground floor garage and outdoor. The project proposes 2 side access from Hillside Terrace and 1 side access from East Vista Way. There are 4 proposed pedestrian accesses, 3 from East Vista Way and 1 from Hillside Terrace. There are 2 parking garage entrance exits on the south side of the building. Proposed common open spaces include an amenity deck on the 2nd floor and a residence park on the ground floor. The amenity deck includes lounge chairs, shaded seatings, fire pits, tables, and benches. The residence park includes seating, tables, charcoal grills, and landscaping. Here are the architectural south and west elevations. The project proposed contemporary modern architecture with a mixture of complementary materials such as stucco, concrete block, metal doors, and windows. Stucco finishes include 3 different colors to create a shading transition from top to bottom. Hispanic clay barrel tie is proposed for roofing. Residential balconies will include metal railing and shade structures. The ground floor parking garage will have roll-up doors with translucent glass. Here are the architectural north and east elevations. Here is the perspective elevation looking northeast at the project from Hillside Terrace. And the perspective elevation looking northwest at the project from East Vista Way. This is the first floor plan, which shows the parking garage with 52 parking indoor spaces, residential storage areas, lobby, a trash enclosure, staircases, and 2 elevators. The second floor plan shows 16 residential units, a community room, and a amenity deck. The third floor plan includes 18 residential units and their corresponding balconies. The fourth floor plan includes 16 residential units and their corresponding balconies. Staff requested the Planning Commission provide comments to the applicant related to the proposed design of the project. No formal vote or action on this item. And that concludes staff presentation on this EDR. And the applicant, Ricardo Ferguson, is here tonight to provide any additional information and answer any questions.
Great, thank you, Daisy. Any questions of staff? Commissioner DeJesus?
I have a question about, it's not about design, I don't know if this is appropriate, but affordable units, 5 of them are designated for being affordable, correct? Does the city pick out those units, or does the developer pick out which units are affordable?
The applicant is intent to provide 10% of the units to be affordable.
Okay,
And we haven't, the applicant hasn't determined the income level for the affordable units at this stage of the project.
thanks. Thanks, Daisy.
Just to add to the comments that Daisy provided, Commissioner DeJesus, at some point later in the process when it's formally submitted, the selection of the units and which ones will be, obviously, that's the deciding factor later on with a regulatory agreement on the site.
Thank you. Commissioner Looney?
And kind of along the same lines, will the concessions be listed at that time, or are the concessions listed for today's review?
The concessions will actually be at the formal stage because at this point, the applicant is still deciding at what level income the units would be provided, and that will be a determining factor in terms of how many concessions they are eligible for. And so at a point when they actually formally submit, we'll be able to better understand where the concessions are going to be located and for what purpose at that point.
Okay.
So tonight, we would not be able to dive into that.
Okay. Daisy, I noticed that the front yard setbacks have been left off the form as far as what is being required. And then I also noticed that we've got about a 5-foot setback from what appears to be a new property line. Could you, and again, if it's appropriate, kind of explain what the applicant is proposing with a new property line and then the setback?
We might be able to get, sorry, Daisy, we might be able to get the applicant also part of the discussion and have them clarify it. I believe Mr. Ricardo Ferguson is in the audience.
Okay.
So if it's appropriate time when the chair would like to call him, then
That'd be fine.
we'll have that.
Thank you. Thank you,
Discussion.
Daisy.
Yeah, you can come up right now, that's fine.
Ricardo Ferguson with MAA Architects, the designer of the project. Thank you, Commissioners. Was there a question?
Did you have a presentation?
No, we were going to rely on the presentation from the planning department. Hopefully that was sufficient to give, an adequate
Okay.
presentation of the scope of the project.
Okay. What was that?
Oh, I was just saying they said no presentation.
Could you explain generally the reason of the adjusted property line along that, along Vista Way and Vale Terrace?
Yeah.
Commissioner Looney, may I ask you to please speak closer to the microphone? The folks in the audience
Okay.
are not able to hear all of that. Thank you so much.
So I noticed that there was an existing property line and then a proposed property line.
There was a widening along East Vista that forced us to move our building 5 feet more towards the west and to jog that face of the building to comply with that additional setback for that increased width along East Vista.
Okay, so the front yard setback then really isn't changing from the original property line, or is that being adjusted? Because on the form, there's no front yard setback listed.
The actual physical setback from East Vista has been moved an additional 5 feet to the west.
Okay. And I don't want to belabor the point, but we've got about a 5'9" building setback from that front property line.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, Commissioner Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm also trying to get a handle on the scope of the incentives or the concessions. And so I had a question about the compact parking spaces in the garage. Are those allowed by the downtown specific plan? I don't see in the development code where they're allowed for multifamily development.
They are mentioned in our citywide parking as far as compact spaces, but it is not widely used. So in the downtown specific plan, it's typically your standard parking stall, 9 by 19. And if the stalls are smaller than that, sometimes I've seen it in projects where they're like 9 by 16 or like a shorter length. So I don't know the details on this, but maybe perhaps Mr. Ferguson can expand on that.
Right, we are allowed a certain percentage of compact parking spaces, and those are on the north side of the building in the parking garage. So I guess in the final analysis, we'll have to run that number again and see if we're in compliance with the number. I think we have 2 parking spaces, maybe 3 over the allowed amount, but there is an allowance for a certain percentage of compact parking spaces based on the total amount of required parking.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Hastings?
Just to go along with that, I had a question. There. I had a question about those spaces, and I actually looked at the dimensions, and it looked like they were 8 by 16. That's a standard compact space? It's spaces 19 through 25.
Yes.
Yeah, typically a compact space is shorter in length and depth, I should say. So 9 by 19 is your standard stall.
Right.
And 9 by 16, sometimes, getting down to that level would be similar to like a compact size.
But this is 8 by 16. Is that still wide enough? I don't know.
I have not seen the drawings in that much detail, but if it's something that it doesn't meet our requirements or any other more universal requirement for parking, then obviously we'll have to be discussing that in more detail.
Right, so
With Mr. Ferguson.
we'll have to comply with the maximum number of allowed compact parking spaces. Whether they're correct on our drawing or not, we will absolutely have to comply with that.
Okay.
And we'll have to comply with the minimum size of those compact parking spaces.
Great, thank you.
Very good. Were there any questions from our student commissioners tonight? Okay, thank you. We had 2 speakers from the public. The first speaker, and by the way, these are in the order that I received them, Joe, and I think it's Hude.
Good evening. It's Hood, as in Robin.
Sorry.
Thank you. Wonderful presentation. Well done. Thank you so much. I personally applaud this project in the sense that we really need more housing in Vista, and this is a wonderful direction. That said, this project is, in my mind, terribly deficient when it comes to climate-aware construction and housing. I ask you to ask the applicant to build a climate-friendly showcase project. Number one, let's eliminate parking altogether. This is on the transit route and near the transit center. Instead of parking, let's add more affordable units. And by the way, let's add more floors with more units. 2, let's please require passive house or something like it technology as proposed by Amory Lovins. Let's eliminate heating and cooling systems and use the savings for climate-safe features. 3, orient the building to get the maximum east-southwest exposure. A, provide balcony solar, window solar, and batteries where practical. And B, use rooftop microgrid for other units and common areas for energy in the building. 4, require all electric units. Include induction cooktops, for example, and design for easy recycling and waste disposal. 5, ask for minimization of embedded carbon. 6, on the outside, please provide tree-shaded areas with chairs and tables, provide native plants, no artificial turf, and do everything possible to minimize pavement. Vista should please lead the way with climate-positive living. It's in your hands to ask for this, as we are doing from the climate space. Please, climate-sensitive building from here forward.
Thank you for your comments. The second speaker is Gabrielle Jackson.
Hello, everyone. Council, my name is Gabrielle Jackson. I live at 710 Franklin Lane, which is just a stone's throw from this proposed project. This area, my neighborhood, has some really severe problems, which are only going to be exacerbated by this project. I, like the previous speaker, am all for more housing. Everybody needs a place to live. In my house, I have 2 adult children living with me because they can't afford to rent a place in Vista. Right next to me, there's a Vista View Apartments. I thought, oh, you know, maybe my daughter can move in there, but those places go for $2,500 a month. She makes $20 an hour, which amounts to $3,200 a month. She cannot afford to live there. And the people that live in that neighborhood are working people. Those people are typically not making more than $20 an hour. So they're not going to be able to afford to live there unless they get a bunch of other people to live there with them, which is typical for the apartment buildings where I live. So in my neighborhood, parking is so tight that we have actually parked at Chin's because it was the closest place that we could find a place to park. So 72 spaces for 50 units is not going to be sufficient. I'm sorry if you answered this question before, but I couldn't hear anything the guy was saying. But what's going to happen to Froggy's? The donut shop that's like right there, are those places going to stay there? And if they are going to stay there, how are the people going to, where are they going to park? Are they going to still have any place to park there? Let's see. So sort of going with what I said before, if the people who live in the neighborhood now can't afford to live in these apartments, there's only 5 out of all of those, then who are those people that are going to move in? These are going to be people who are coming from somewhere else. They probably have jobs in another place, so they're probably commuting. And this really smacks of gentrification to me in my neighborhood, which I do not want to see. This neighborhood has a special feel, it has a special culture. The people that live there have a special culture, and I really don't want to see that go down the drain because somebody wants to build a high-rent apartment building right there, smack in the middle of it. So I really don't like to complain about things without having a solution. So there would be a solution, which would be to try to fix the parking problems and the traffic that's there now, and then maybe think about getting more apartments. Thank you.
Great, thank you for your comments. That was the last speaker request I have. Does anybody else wish to speak from the public? Please come forward. And you will need to fill out a slip if you don't have one. And, okay, when you're done, you can fill one out. Thank you.
My name is Jacob Munson. I live up the street, in Artie's place. And to kind of reiterate what the last speaker said, parking is a huge issue in the general area. We have a lot of apartment complexes up there, and basically the street parking is just not tenable now. And if you add 50 more units, you're going to generally have that problem. I mean, Artie's place is just packed with people that don't even live on the street, which is fine. But we get quite a bit of crime up there, just in terms of people breaking into other people's cars because people don't live there, so they know they can get into those cars. So it's a general issue that I see with this, all for new housing and stuff, but you got to figure out the parking situation. So.
Great. Thank you for your comments. Any other speakers? If not, we'll turn it back to the Planning Commission. And I just wanted to mention, I think one change I'd like to make is that under the previous chairman, we would break down these design review items into architecture, into landscaping. And so we would go through discussion for 3 or 4 different things. What I'm going to try to do tonight is bring it back where whoever wants to make a comment, make all your comments at one time. And I think that'll be a little more efficient than in the past. Please start your comments and give everything you have. Sorry.
Chairman, Michael Resser, City Planner, City of Vista. I want to let you know that the Downtown Vista specific plan does allow for compact parking, up to 25%, and the standard parking or compact parking stall size is 8 by 16. Just wanted to let you know.
Great, thank you. Well, I appreciate it. Okay, it's open for Planning Commission discussion. Commissioner Looney.
But I hope you have some questions because I've got a few. What I did is I went through the different sheets to help guide you on some of the questions that I have, that you can consider those in the design modifications. On sheet A2, which is a floor plan, there are units on the north wall that are studies or lofts, and they will work perfectly for another bedroom. So you might consider either calling those bedrooms or redesign the floor plan where they will be a legitimate study and not something that in a weekend you can make a bedroom into a bedroom. Because that affects oftentimes parking count. And so if we're adding bedrooms, that's going to increase your parking. So just look at that, because if I owned one of those units, I would put a wall in there and make another bedroom. So, and that can be done without, it can be done so quickly that no permits would ever be pulled. So just be mindful of that. On sheet A7 and on all the exterior elevations, you illustrate the building being on a flat lot. It is not flat. So particularly on the west elevation, please show the street grade relative to the building, because that would really help, I think, present your project in a more accurate manner than it is presented right now. It appears that the back retaining wall along the north property line is going to be, is either going to remain or is going to be replaced. That's not clearly stated on or shown on the grading plan. So I think that's, again, I know these are preliminary, but those are the things that we look for as a planning commission, to look at wall heights, retaining, and things of that nature. And that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Other comments? Commissioner Hastings.
I have a general concern as I drive past that corner all the time about density. I am for density, but that place looks like I really don't like the sense of jamming 50 residences in that space. It just feels like it's too many. That's an incredibly busy intersection. They have some nice, Vista has some nice engineering to move people off Civic Center onto East Vista Way, but I wonder about, for one thing, just the attractiveness of people moving into that particular building. Are you going to want to live there in that space? It just seems really busy to me. That's one thing. I also saw that thing, Don, about the studies. I was concerned about the things that were identified as studies. Either they were small, they just cried out to be small bedrooms, or nice big walk-in closets. I don't know, but it seemed like a space that's just hanging out there without direct use. So it seems like there could be a better use of that space. And I know this goes back to, you haven't determined what your criteria are going to be for affordable units. But I did see that you had layouts that showed that some units were affordable by the layout. So what about the design of those units determines them to be affordable as opposed to some other unit? So I guess that's a question for you, the applicant. But
You can come up and address that right now if you'd like.
We have taken all of the floor plans and we took a distribution that was representative of the different types of units that we had. So the way we set the project up, we set it up for 5 affordable units, but if you look at the plan, we actually have 6. So we're trying to build in more affordability in the plan. But basically what's happening is we're picking a unit that's representative of that type of unit going from floors 2, 3, and 4 up through the building, right? So there is a selection criteria to it based on the type.
based on the type. So is there any difference between an affordable unit and another one of that floor plan that's not affordable?
No, there shouldn't be. They should be equivalent. You know, if it's an affordable 1-bedroom, it should be the same as a market 1-bedroom. Unless, of course, there's a differential in terms of size.
Right.
But its location on the building, the amenities that it is adjacent to, there's no difference between affordable and a regular market unit.
Okay, great, thank you.
Commissioner Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to talk a little bit about the open space, have maybe a couple of questions. I'm a big fan of the podium open space design. I think that's really great, and I like the way the units wrap around that area. My concern is the residence park, kind of at the point of the property where Hillside Terrace and East Vista Way meet. When I originally opened the plans, I thought, well, that's got to be a detention basin. But it doesn't seem like it is, although it doesn't really seem like it's all that usable also, because it's got a lot of sedge and chalk sticks, and it looks like mondo grass or something else that just doesn't seem like it's walkable or usable. So I think because open space is fairly limited in the project, that you might want to consider making that more of an amenity that the residents could use. Do you want to come up and address that?
In terms of hydro modification and our stormwater management, we have an underground tank that we've placed in the driveway. We were trying not to put it in that area.
Mr. Ferguson, could you please speak into the microphone? I'm sorry. I sound like I'm the police of the microphone here, but if it's not captured correct.
Yes, of course. So to address the requirement for stormwater management, our tank is located in the driveway between that park and the face of the building. That allows us to do a couple things. We were concerned that if we put our hydro modification in that area, it would completely wipe out all the trees on that corner. So we're trying to preserve as many of those trees as possible. And we were also trying to provide, a little Vest Pocket Park, a soft area at that intersection, so that we can effectively move the building back, move the asphalt and everything back, and still have a soft edge on that corner as we go from Hillside to East Vista.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I would just like to see it be more of an outdoor gathering space
Okay,
as opposed to a bench and a grill. So,
that can be done.
thank you.
Commissioner DeJesus?
Is there going to be any vehicle charging stations in the parking? Okay. What percentage of that is, staff may know? So in every new development, we're having to put in, thanks. I want to make sure that's there. Thank you.
Commissioner Looney?
Thank you. Over the last 3-4 years, we've seen a number of projects come through for early design, and we've seen some amazing design solutions. What we have here is a very unique piece of property in its shape. And the footprint that is proposed on this triangular property really isn't responding to the property itself. We've taken a rectangle and we've put it on a triangular lot, and we've cheated the front yard setbacks to make it fit. I know this is, we're in early design review, but the next time this comes back, I would like to see a building footprint that is more conducive to the triangular property, where it doesn't look like a box that's been set on a triangular lot. Yes, it's going to take some design. Yes, it's going to take some changes, but you're going to end up with a much better project, because right now the box is too big for the property from my perspective. I would just like for you to look at some different concepts that respond more appropriately to the property itself, and I think you're going to end up with a better project. I think the height is fine. I think your access off Vista Way and Hillside Terrace are fine. I would really like to see some more innovative concepts for a building footprint.
If there's no other comments from the commission, I had a couple. One was that, just wanted to reiterate what a few other people have said, but this is a highly, highly visible site. I don't know how many thousands of people drive by there every day, so it's going to be very important to the city that you really have something in kind of along the lines of what Mr. Looney was talking about, something that looks really good and identifies the property in a positive way. The second comment I had was kind of based off what Ms. Jackson said. There's an inordinate amount of one-bedroom units, and again, some of those are questionable as whether they're one or really two. I'd like to see more two-bedroom units, and I think her point, and I think Mr. Looney made the same point, is that, with one bedroom, you're going to pretty much get a lot of those will have two automobiles pertaining to that particular unit, and so I think it just exacerbates the parking problem. So I'd really like to see more of the 2 units in this project. And those were the comments I had. And then I would like to ask the student commissioners, I know you're new, but did you have any comments tonight?
So
Would
I
you
heard.
state your name?
Oh, my name's Stella Lieberman. I'm a student commissioner. So I heard before that there's going to be 10% of the apartments are going to be affordable housing, but the layouts of these apartments are going to be similar to the normal market price apartments. So I just want to know what factor is making that margin of apartments affordable or considered affordable, and what's making the other one, the market-priced ones, at a higher cost. Thank you.
Would staff like to address that?
So basically, per state Department of Housing Community Development Department, they distinguish what is considered to be affordable, low income, versus what's considered to be moderate income. So one way to look at it, just start from the basics, is that we look at area median income for an area, like for instance, San Diego County. And based on that number, 80% of that number would be considered to be a low-income household that would be earning 80% of what we call the AMI, which is area median income. And if you are at moderate level, you'd be earning 120% of that amount of the AMI. So for instance, there's a chart, if you go on the state HCD's website, they will say the income for a family of 4 is about $116,000 or so. So it's just a basic math for a family of 4, and you do 80% of that, and you end up in a bracket that would be considered to be low income, and again, 120% would be considered moderate income. In this case, the applicant has not decided whether it's low or very low, which would be even lower than the 80%. Typically, it's like a 50% of the area median income. Once that's the deciding factor is made, then they can calculate the rents, which should be no more than 30% of the monthly income of that person that should be going towards rent. So that's when you calculate, okay, I'm not paying my entire, monthly income towards rent, but only 30% of that. So there's all these calculations that go into determining what the rent will be at that level, and also for the different income levels of affordability. Does that help? Yes. Okay.
Very good. That concludes that particular portion of the agenda, and I hope the applicant got some direction on that. Michael?
I was just going to add a few other things, is the fact that in the Downtown Vista specific plan, we do have very reduced setbacks for buildings within the Civic Center specific sub-district. For example, I just want to make sure we're all clear that the front setback is a 5-foot setback. Side yard adjacent to a street is 5 feet, and a true side yard is a 0-foot setback. So I know it looks as though it's really close to the street and 2 property lines, but it seems as though it was designed to meet the requirements. But I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that and understands the nuances of the specific plan. So, okay.
Very good, thank you. Okay, if there's no other comments, reports from staff?
I would like to give an opportunity to Joe Vaca, our Director of Community Development, if you had anything that you'd like to share before I do my usual sharing of dates and upcoming meetings and so on.
Thank you very much, Patsy. Just want to welcome the commissioners back. Of course, want to welcome the student commissioners to our team. Thank you for being here. Thank you all for coming this evening. And also congratulations on Daisy's appointment and her first successful presentation of the Planning Commission. Good job. So I'm very grateful to be here with excellent staff and great commissioners. So looking forward to a great fall with you all.
Thank you, Mr. Bach.
So just wanted to share with the commission briefly that looks like we're going to be having definitely a meeting on September 3rd, which we'll be actually taking a look at the EIR scoping meeting for the general plan. So it's going to be a big meeting, and then followed by a traffic circulation workshop. Before that, however, I will be making a presentation on the Housing Element Program 8, which is basically implementation of one of the 24, 27 programs in the housing element that got certified by HCD in 2022. So it is a meeting that has a lot of important items to discuss. So September 30th is the date. Hope you all can make it. And then September 17th, looks like we're also going to be having a meeting there with a couple of items. And one thing, just to update, the council did approve on August 13th an appeal of the skate ramp on Oak Drive. So that was approved 5-0. I just wanted to share that with the commission.
Very good. Reports from planning commissioners. Just to comment, is everybody okay with the way that we redid the system? I think it's a little more efficient that way. Okay, very good. Any other comments? If not, I believe we're adjourned. Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Linney.
We've got a few questions of staff. It appears that I think it's a Del Rio development on Mar Vista in 78. Is that the name of it?
The SRO project on Mar Vista? Yeah.
So I've seen signs that those are now for rent. One of the conditions that we discussed on approval was to convert the tennis court to pickleball courts. Was that waived? Was that requirement waived during their approval process because there's still a tennis court? But I know that sometimes things change in the permit process, but could you share any insights on that particular condition?
Yeah, that went to before the city council, and at that point, if my memory serves me right, that was allowed to remain as a tennis court. So it changed from the planning commission to the city council. So when the decision was finally made, and that's what you see on the site.
Okay.
Yep.
I noticed that they are extending the bike trail west of Mar Vista along the railroad tracks, so that's encouraging to see. Do you have any update on the 78 landscaping at Emerald Drive? They were working on it for a couple of months, and then it looks like it's left abandoned because it hasn't been finished. So I didn't know if there was any update from the state. Did the state run out of funds or what happened? Because it looks pretty trashy.
And this is at the interchange, at the entrance to the freeway, or it's not on city public right-of-way, I'm assuming?
No, it's on either side of 78.
So it's on Caltrans right-of-way? Okay. We would have to look into that. I don't have an answer on that, but I'll be happy to look into that and get back to the commission.
Okay. That was all.
Anything else? Commissioner DeGiusse?
Well, first, I'd like to thank the student commissioner for her comment, and I think it's fabulous that you're already seeing kind of something happening. Like I saw you nodding your head over the parking and density, and I would advise you to look at. We're subject to a lot of state rules now in development, so you'll see a lot of development coming forward along the transportation corridors that are earmarked, if you will, for development. So we're kind of bound by state rules, and we don't have a lot of control over yes or no, but we can certainly sit here and talk about design review and number of affordable units. And I just think it's great that you're thinking along those lines, and wanted to thank you for your input. And also wanted to thank Daisy for her first time up. Did a great job.
Commissioner Looney.
I wanted to just comment on Joe Howdy's presentation in public public forum. He was talking about climate-friendly living. The federal government, along with other countries, are planning basically a zero carbon footprint design by 2035. And some of the things that he brought up are in the works, where there will be no air conditioning, and there will be no heating, and there will be no cars. So we're going to see more and more of that coming. There is an agenda to where America won't be the same as it has been in the past, but that's that global vision that is coming on us very quickly. So it's going to change architecture, it's going to change our means of transportation, it's going to change the way that we live, and but it's coming, and it's coming quickly, and so it's going to change the way that we review projects, and it won't be an option. It's something that's required, but that's what we have to be mindful of and to look at our projects coming on down the road in the future.
Okay. I don't see any more speakers, so we are now adjourned. Very good. Because it's coming.
Been reading more articles where the electric vehicle, no one's buying them.
That's the reason
Heating and cooling system put in the house. And they're pushing this service. Some friends of mine in Arizona bought this system. They don't go here. Switched it. And they changed it. Are you kidding? Talk about taking away our freedom. Yeah.